Welcome to Wonder and Lore, where the mystical and magical come to life. Each week, we take you on a journey to the far corners of the world, uncovering ancient folktales and legendary myths that have been passed down through generations. From the whispers of enchanted forests to the echoes of heroic deeds, our stories are filled with wisdom, enchantment, and timeless lessons. Sit back, relax, and let your imagination soar as we delve into the wonders and lore of our world. Subscribe, like, and hit the bell icon to never miss an episode of these captivating tales. Join us as we keep the spirit of storytelling alive, one magical story at a time. A terrifying grandmother figure who doles out advice and punishment feels familiar, doesn't it? That might be why today's creature, originating from Russian and East Slavic folklore, seems so ubiquitous. She's been the inspiration for operas, comic books, children's tales, cartoons, and even films, not to mention centuries of folklore. Meet Baba Yaga. While she's often depicted as an ugly, evil witch today, that wasn't always her story. Baba Yaga was once seen more as a goddess than a witch, reigning over time, life, death, and the elements. She was associated with fierce winds and dark forests, connecting the earth, the heavens, and the underworld, straddling the boundary between life and death. Who is she really? Elemental goddess? Dark sorceress? Terrifying granny? Let's dive in. With immense magical powers, she's accused of cannibalism and holds sway over animals, the elements, and even time itself. Although not every story paints her as an ugly witch, many Russians would. Baba Yaga is often portrayed as a tall, gaunt old woman, with many tales referencing her skeletal leg either severely thin or an actual skeleton. She has wild, disheveled hair and an iron nose so long it could touch the ceiling when she lies on the floor of her hut. This large nose allows her to identify visitors by scent, leading some folklorists to suggest she might be blind. The powerful Yaga always resides in remote locations, typically deep in the forest. Her home, while sometimes a grand mansion, is often a hut perched on chicken legs, goat legs, ram horns, or spindles, encircled by a fence made of human bones, with a gate locked by sharp human teeth. It's easy to see why some think she's a cannibal. The hut spins constantly and only stops with the chant, little house, turn your back to the forest, your front to me." Baba Yaga's possessions are just as mystical. Forget flying brooms. She travels in a magical flying mortar, propelling it with a pestle while sweeping away her trail with a broom. She possesses enchanted mirrors that turn into lakes, combs that transform into forests, handkerchiefs that become rivers or flying carpets, and even fire-breathing horses. The name Baba Yaga likely dates back to at least the medieval period, with thousands of stories in Russian and Slavic folklore. Her first documented appearance was in woodblock prints from the late 17th to early 18th centuries, indicating her presence in early oral traditions. The first written mention of Baba Yaga appears in the 1755 notes of a Russian grammar book by poet and scientist Mikhail V. Lomonosov, where she's mentioned twice, including in a list comparing Roman gods with their Slavic and Russian counterparts. The first narrative account of Baba Yaga is found in Vasily Levchin's 1780 collection, Russian Fairy Tales, where she is portrayed as terrifying and dangerous, with teeth like tusks and hands like bear claws. Baba Yaga remained largely an Eastern European monster until the 19th century, when she gained international recognition through translations of Alexander Afanasyev's 600 transcribed Russian folktales from 1855 to 1863. His collection, styled like that of the Brothers Grimm, provided greater scholarly legitimacy to his work. Later, a Russian illustrator used this collection to create iconic depictions of Russian folk characters, including Baba Yaga in 1899. She can be altruistic, offering gifts or advice to the protagonist, and even in the darkest tales, where she's a child kidnapper, a warrior witch, or a trickster, the protagonist always escapes. Despite her iron teeth and cannibalistic reputation, no one in her stories is ever actually eaten. Many Baba Yaga stories feature a young protagonist entering adulthood or marriage. In one tale, a father gives his daughter to Baba Yaga as a servant. The daughter completes her tasks perfectly, with the help of little mice. Impressed by her work, Baba Yaga rewards her with beautiful clothing. When the father checks on his daughter, he's surprised to find her wealthy, jealous, Her stepmother sends her own daughter to Baba Yaga, but this girl chases the mice away and fails her tasks. So Baba Yaga breaks her into pieces and puts her bones in a box. Not exactly evil, but certainly not benevolent. Then there's the beloved Russian folktale Vasilisa the Beautiful. On her deathbed, a merchant's wife gives their daughter, Vasilisa, a doll, instructing her to keep it with her always. If anything bad happens, she should feed the doll and ask for advice, and the doll will help her. After her mother's death, Vasilisa's father remarries a widowed woman with daughters who are far from kind. Jealous of her goodness and beauty, they try to diminish her allure with hard labor, but Vasilisa grows healthier and more beautiful, while the others grow uglier from spite. How does she thrive despite their cruelty? The doll. Each night, Vasilisa feeds the doll and asks for advice. The doll comforts her, offering wise words, and completes her tasks. When it's time for Vasilisa to marry, all the bachelors desire her hand. Further enraging her stepmother, they move to a new home near the dense forest where Baba Yaga resides. One night, while working by candlelight, a stepsister deliberately extinguishes the light and orders Vasilisa to fetch a flame from Baba Yaga's hut. Frightened, Vasilisa consults her doll, which reassures her, saying as long as it's with her, she'll be safe. So, Vasilisa sets off for Baba Yaga's hut. In the woods, she encounters 3 horsemen. First, a man in white atop a white steed, heralding daybreak. Next, a man in red on a red horse, accompanied by the rising sun. Finally, a man in black with an ebony stallion, beckoning the night, disappearing at Baba Yaga's gate made of human legs, arms as bolts, and a lock of sharp teeth. Eyes and skulls illuminate the clearing. She's arrived. Suddenly, there's a horrible roar as Baba Yaga bursts from the forest. Vasilisa bravely bows, asking for light as instructed. Baba Yaga agrees, but only if Vasilisa completes several tasks or she will be eaten. The challenges include preparing a feast for 12, cleaning the courtyard and house, preparing wheat, washing linen, and sweeping. Vasilisa feeds her doll, which completes everything except the feast. Baba Yaga, impressed by her efficiency, sends Vasilisa home with a skull that emits a blazing light. Upon returning, Vasilisa's stepmother and stepsisters welcome her with gratitude, but the skull's flames consume them to cinders, leaving Vasilisa to eventually catch the eye of the Tsar and become his bride. So, while Baba Yaga has a heart, you must earn it. This story illustrates her control over morning, day, and night. Embodied by the 3 horsemen, the tale serves as a lesson, showing young women the skills they need as wives: cooking, cleaning, and sewing under another's command. Baba Yaga's tests challenge the protagonist's cleverness and worthiness as adults, emphasizing her role as a domestic instructor. Exploring Baba Yaga's name reveals possible origins as a deity. Baba originally referred to a married peasant woman or midwife in Old Russian, later becoming a derogatory term for a difficult old woman. In some languages, it also means pelican, perhaps explaining her beak-like nose. Yaga is harder to define. Theories suggest it could mean horrible, rider, or even snake. It's often interpreted as Baba Witch or Old Granny Witch, hinting at disease, illness, horror, or rage. Many names of ancient Slavic deities have been lost, and this might be true for Baba Yaga. Her name could have replaced an original name too sacred or feared to be spoken. In the 18th century, scholars linked her to ancient Slavic deities, suggesting she was a pagan goddess, with supernatural powers over life and death. She certainly embodies godlike traits, despite the peculiar chicken-legged hut. Nomadic Siberian hunters built storage houses on tree stumps to deter animals. Similar to Baba Yaga's house, burial practices in Neolithic Europe, where bodies were placed on raised platforms to dry, might also explain her house's peculiarities. In modern portrayals, Baba Yaga became a tool for socialist propaganda, her stories promoting problem-solving, hard work, and courage, traits valued by the Soviet Union. Post-1991, Baba Yaga gained global recognition, appearing in comics, movies, TV shows, and even video games. She is mother, bone breaker, helper, goddess, and witch, an enigmatic figure. Storytelling was vital for East Slavic and Russian people, spanning all social classes, with Skazka, folk tales, shared at feasts and during leisure. Baba Yaga, as a grandmotherly advisor or cannibalistic witch, remains a popular and beloved character. Quoting Andreas Johns, who wrote extensively on Baba Yaga, there can be no single correct interpretation of Baba Yaga, offering great freedom for us to imagine her in ways that suit us best and for her own legendary potential. So, keep that in mind, and keep me slightly over-caffeinated. Thank you for joining us on this enchanting journey through wonder and lore. If you enjoyed these stories, like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to stay updated. Share your thoughts in the comments, and we'll see you in the next magical episode.